ओम गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेव महेश्वर गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्ट्वागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ मनो हि द्विविधं प्रोक्तं शुद्धं चाशुद्धमेव च। अशुद्धं कामसङ्कल्पं शुद्धं कामविवर्जितं। मन एव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयोः। बन्धाय विषयासक्तं मुक्ते निर्विषयं स्मृतम्। यतो निर्विषयस्यास्य मनसो मुक्तिरिष्यते अतो निर्विषयं नित्यं मनः कार्यं मुमुक्षुणा। विषयासंगं सन्निरुद्धं मनोहृदि यदा यात् यदा यात्यात्मनो भावं तदा तत्परमं पदं। तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावद्धृति गतं क्षयम्। एतज्ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः। These are the first five verses of the Amritabindu Upanishad. Hmm? So if you recall, last week we said we will group them into themes, right? Because the verses, the way they are laid out, it is convenient when we study or when we are trying to contemplate upon it. It's convenient to kind of bring similar verses together and then look at them. So the 10th verse that we have added is na nirodho na chotpattirna baddho na cha sadhakah na mumukshurna vai mukta ityesha paramarthata. Na nirodho na chotpatirna baddho na cha sadhakah na mumukshurna vai muktah ityesha paramarthata. That's the 10th verse we've added to this theme. So what is the theme? First one, we're talking about Mano Nigraha, which means the management of the mind. See, one thing that I usually stay away from is saying controlling the mind, because it is something that is not possible. You cannot control the mind. You just can't control the mind. Reason being, the mind, the thoughts that occur in the mind are not your thoughts. It kind of resonates with you. It has a correlation because it comes from the elements stored in your memory and all of that. But why does it occur in a particular fashion? Why does it appear at certain times? Certain thoughts appear at certain times, certain thoughts don't appear. That whole process that happens, you have absolutely no control. In fact, even Mahatmas don't have control. Fact of the matter is, even Mahatmas don't have control. Mahatmas know how to manage it. Now, how do you know a thought that arises in you is a divinely inspired thought or your thought of the ego? A lot of times we say this, right? I feel divinely inspired. I feel this thought has come from my guru. This thought, Devi has given me this thought, or this thought has come from Krishna. How do you recognize it that way? How do you differentiate that thought from other thoughts that you're having? Something intuitively inside you tells you that. If somebody asks you, why did you choose this to do this? Many times we may have a logic. Oh, because I did market research, I understood this, I did that, and hence I choose this. But certain times when you make life decisions, all of this is data is important. But when you take a step, even for your own self, and also sometimes for your own children or your own husband, your wife, you take a step and you say, I feel this is the right thing to do. Go ahead and do this. We tell this sometimes. And we also tell this to ourselves. I don't know. I just feel like this is the right thing to do. Now, that right thing to do, that feeling of the right thing to do, that feeling is common to all of us. But what is the right thing to do is different for each one of us. You will get a thought based on your condition, your prarabdha, your storage, your smriti, your what is there in your chitta. All of this will come into play in terms of how it plays out for you. But then you have no control on what actually comes to you. So if I ask you, why did you feel like that? What is that thought? What is that made you think that this is the right thing to do? There is no, we usually don't have an answer. I don't know. I just feel this is the thing to do. So you are acknowledging that there is an intuition and play within you. It is not just that people who practice intuition or people who are intuitive or psychics are they. It's not just that they have intuition. All of us have intuition. They have activated and practiced it so that they're able to recognize it at will, much more in a much more effective way than we do. Most common people do. They paid attention to it. We don't pay attention, but it's there. It is there. And we ourselves recognize it at times. So the whole movement to say controlling the mind is an illusory movement. If you go to an Advaita Vedantin and ask if you're controlling the mind, from his point, he will say there is no mind to control. Very interesting. The Advaita Vedantin will say, from his perspective, all of this is Brahman and everything that is an appearance. Even mind is an appearance in your consciousness. Mind is an appearance in your consciousness. So why are you trying to control something that is just an appearance? There is no mind to control. This is the view. But if you believe, or rather if we our experience is not that. Our experience is that it's not that mind is illusory. Our experience, mind is real. It is making me do things that I'm doing. It is the cause of all that I'm doing. In terms of the thoughts that occur, the things that I want to do, the desires, etc. It's all playing out in the mind. So when we try to control, we are trying to go against its nature. So mind cannot be controlled. It is the function of the mind is to generate thoughts. Chitta vritti. Chitta vritti is the function of the mind. Chitta is the storehouse of memory within you. Vrittis are waves. So generation of these waves is a function of the mind. It is present to generate that only. What you can do is you can slowly dissolve the mind so that less of that occurs. Or you can ignore, you can bear witness to the thoughts that are rising in the mind. Or you can act. So what we typically do is we act on thoughts that occur in the mind. We act on them. But there is also a way that you don't act on them. You continue to look at it and say, thoughts rising in my mind, that's all right. I don't have to act on every thought. Honestly, if we were to act on every thought, then world will be a very violent place. As long as I think in my mind that that is fine. if I really want to execute it, he will also have similar intentions, even more violent intentions. So it will turn into an animal, a place of worse than an animal kingdom, because at animals they only fight for two things: a mate and territory. Three things basically: food, mating, and territory. So their territory they try to secure. For food they fight, and for mating they'll fight. But after that they don't carry any um, baggage saying that nee aniki nee sanda pote appadina. They don't carry any of that. They'll fight, they get it, they'll take it and go, or they will go away in disappointment. And they'll go and fight elsewhere, search somewhere else. These are primal instincts. But mind is not active in that sense. It's not consciously engaging. But in our case, it is consciously engaging. It is noticing, observing, absorbing, storing, remembering, recollecting. All of this it is doing. So if we try to control it, the whole process of meditation, pranayama, dhyana, the whole Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These 8 steps to yoga, none of them are to control the mind. Although in yoga they'll go to the extreme to say controlling the mind. But you really can't control. Even Mahatmas can't control the mind. Mahatmas can only go into a place where the mind is dissolved in a state of some amount of dissolution, where thoughts don't arise so much. And even if thoughts arise, they are divinely inspired in many ways, right? The thoughts are divinely inspired, or they just become observers of thought. So the way Mahatmas act, when we say that it's a divinely inspired action, what happens to us on occasional basis? Suddenly I feel inspired, I want to do something. On occasional basis, you'll be driving down someplace and you'll feel, hey, listen, I think I feel like I want to go into that shop. I want to go into that temple. I want to go into this place. It's just that instinct, or that intuitive thought comes from somewhere occasionally. But for them, it happens almost all the time, because they've made themselves in a way where this is a um, they made themselves in a way that thoughts that arise in them are reduced, and whatever arises are intuitive thoughts, which means they're aligned with some universal, the whole universal construct. They're aligned so that the thoughts that are arising in them, it's universe's way of making them do something, because they have now given themselves to the will of the universe. They have become an instrument. They've become an instrument. So for them, in that sense, it becomes a lot more easy to live like that, because they're not carrying the burden. Like we saw what Jiddu Krishnamurti is saying, I don't carry the burden of the past. So they don't carry any of that burden. Hence, for them, life becomes far more simpler, because if there is something that occurs within them, it's intuitive, they do it. They don't analyze whether right or wrong. Is it good or bad for me? They don't analyze that. 1 second. Sorry, your call. So they don't carry that burden and they're not analyzing. And the other thing that we do is when thoughts arise, we analyze, is it good for me? Is it right for me? Is it the right thing to do? All this analysis we do. Mahatmas don't do this analysis. So which is why important to understand is this whole story that I'm saying is important to understand. Do not work on controlling the mind. Look at understanding the mind. What do psychiatrists do? Which is what they do. They try to understand your mind. And when they're not, they'll give you a sedative. They'll say sleep off. Because they don't know what to do beyond a certain point. Now it is for our own good. It's good for us to understand how our mind is operating. Is my mind continuously looking at the world as a place, as an unfair place? Is the mind continuously looking at something? See, if the mind is causing us suffering, then who's to blame? If our mind is causing us suffering, then who is to carry the blame of the suffering? Our mind, not somebody on the outside. We often forget that. We often think that we let the mind play these things out and we let the mind play these things out and allow it to keep creating stories over stories over stories over stories and establishing them. We re-establish stories. Event would have happened once. The event would have happened once, but the story, establishing of the story inside us would have happened 100 times, 1,000 times. And it will always be, notice the story establishing will always be in our favor. I was correct. It will always be in our favor. See, not talking about whether the event is right, wrong, good, bad, nothing of that sort. But it is what your mind does to you is what we need. Because who is suffering at the end of the day? I am suffering. If we recognize that I am the cause of my suffering, mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksha yoho. This is the second verse. It starts with this. Mana eva manushyanam. This is the most popular verse of Amritabindu Upanishad, the second verse. The first verse we saw last week. Manohi dvividham proktam shuddham cha shuddham eva cha. Their mind has two forms. Shuddham and ashuddham. Ashuddham kama sankalpam, shuddham kama vivarjitam. Which means a shuddha mind is that which is devoid of desires, and ashuddha mind is caught up in desires. And we said it is not minds of two different people. It is not minds of two different people. It is the mind of the same individual which goes through these states. There are times my mind feels pure and calm and peace, rested and not agitated. But then there are times when the same mind feels agitated and restless. Desires are running inside. See, when I say desire, understand desire is not, desire, we will say. But even the thought that I want to change the present state is a desire. If you are not recognizing the present state as the most stable, this is the way it is supposed to be. If that recognition is not there and we are restless about it, that is also a desire for a different state. If we can act upon it, make it happen, absolutely we should. If we can't, acknowledging and resting in it is the right thing to do. So those desires we run after and the mind remains restless. So that is the first verse we saw last week. Now the second verse saying, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksha yoho. Mind alone is the cause of bandha and moksha. Mana eva manushyanam. In the human being, this mind alone is the cause. Mana eva, mind alone, mind only, is the cause of bandha and moksha. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Now, um, there is an equivalent verse in, I think, chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita. Bandhuratmanastasya येनात्मैत्वात्मना जितः आत्मनस्तु शत्रुत्वे वर्ते. 6:6 is it? 6:5. I'll tell you 6:5. उद्धरेदात्मनात्मानं नात्मानं अवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धुः आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. Atma is the ripu, enemy. Atma is the bandhu. Atmaiva hyatmano bandhu atmaiva ripuratmanah. And it says, Uddharet atmanatmanam. By your own mind, you have to raise your mind. Uddharet atmanatmanam. By your own self, you have to raise yourself. Na atmanam avasadayet. Let it not degrade you. Let this mind not degrade you. See, we degrade ourselves and when we blame the world because of them, because of them, because of them, because of them, because of them. Can be anybody. Can be your own mother, father. It can be your own siblings. It can be your relatives. It can be your own children. If you let yourself get degraded, there is no. You can keep blaming. You can keep cursing. You can keep talking. You can keep throwing it out there. At the end of the day, you are the one suffering. When the body drops, you are the one who's going to be loitering around. These are things that we need to recognize. How much ever you can blame the world, blame people, blame whatever. You are alone at the end of the day. Mana eva manushyanam. The mind alone is the cause for bandham and moksham. If I'm tied today, I'm bound, it is my mind. If I'm liberated, it is my mind. The mind alone is the cause of both of this. Bandhaya vishayasaktam mukte nirvishayam smritam. It is bound because it is attached to objects. It is bound because it's attached to objects. Bandhaya vishayasaktam. Vishaya asaktam, that is the karanam from bandha. Then mukte nirvishayam smritam. If you remember that I want to be nirvishaya, devoid of objects, engagement of objects. When we say objects, people, emotions, things, whatever, I'm continuously engaged in all of that, there is no mukti. But I have to disengage, then there is liberation. Liberation is not something out there waiting somewhere for it to occur. Mukti, liberation is right now available. It is a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice. If I don't choose moksha or my liberation as the highest good for me, then why do you think God will give that to you? Even if we say, oh, Krishna has to give me, because he said, Sarvadharmanam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja, aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mashucha. Aham tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. I will give you moksha, Krishna is saying. But you are not desiring moksha. Because we don't understand what moksha is. We think moksha is, I have a definition of a wonderful life where people respect me, people love me, people take care of me, I have money, I have position, I have all the things that I need, and you exaggerate that to the realm of unlimited. So that whatever you think in your mind is what is a great life, you multiply that numerous times, you will say that is liberation for me, which means I have everything that I need is liberation. And there is this story of Yayati. There is a king. He asked all his sons to give their ears to him because he wanted to live a long life. There's a beautiful story in the Bhagavatam, story of Yayati. He wanted to live a long life, so he went and asked all his children, "Can you give me your number of your years to me?" Only the youngest boy said, "Okay, Papa, I give you my years." The others said, "What nonsense! I mean, we want to live our years. We want to live and enjoy." But why Yayati went around doing this? Because he wanted to enjoy even more. Enjoy. And the story goes, after getting those number of years also, he lived for about 1,000 years. At the end of it, he was again exhausted and tired. And then he was ashamed that he was doing this. Living a life of your dreams forever in this world is not moksha. It is not liberation. Because the same individual that you are, whatever you have received, you dreamt about, whatever you got, you yourself as a person may not want that in a few years' time. You yourself are changing. See, these are things we don't notice. We don't notice that what I keep desiring so desperately, so anxiously, I myself may not need that. Give it a couple of years. So then, why do we define ourselves with that? We are struggling, suffering through this process and say that, if I get this, then my life becomes meaningful. What do you mean by that? Because you yourself, your definition of meaning will change a couple of years down. It will change based on some other desire you have. So this bandha and moksha is something we need to recognize. It is not something that is available for, because see, sometimes these things become just theory. Yes, I know I am bound. I know I am bound. But then means what? What does it mean? Do you understand how you're bound? Staying in a house, not having access to things, that is not bound. Psychologically bound. That is what we are talking about. The Upanishads don't care about whether you live in a forest, you live in a small house, you live in a hut, you live in a palace. Janaka Raja lived in a palace and he was feeling bound. He ran after Ashtavakra to teach him. Why? Why did he run after a guru? Why did King Janaka have to run after a guru? Why did Kulasekara Alvar run after Narayana in his mind? Why? These are kings who have plenty. Upanishads don't care about what you are. Physically, in the physical realm, whatever you have, you don't have, it doesn't matter. To the guru, it doesn't matter. Ashtavakra was economically the most poor guy. King Janaka was such an exalted king. Same with Yagyamalkya. But why? Because they had riches that the kings realized that they don't have. See, sometimes it is also important. We go through this life this way, right? It's like that Rajnikant's movie, I don't know which one, Annamalaya, Arunachalama, where the father tells that I'll give you 300 crores, 3,000 crores, if you can spend 30 crores in 1 month or something like that. He puts him to test. Says, spend 30 crores in a month, and then you will become Arunachalam. Then you will become, you will get access to 3,000 crores, which is his legacy. Why was that important, that whole exercise? He explains, is because once you get over this want and desire to have things, then whatever is given to you, you will use it to the best of your ability, and you'll use it for the best purposes. Like how Vidyaranya Muni got riches after he gave up, he took sannyasa. Somebody told him, you will become very rich if you do 1 crore Gayatri mantra. He sat and did. And then Gayatri Devi didn't turn up. So he got fed up. He went to the Nadi and did Atma Sannyasa. And when he turned around, suddenly Gayatri Devi appeared and said, Enna kannava, enna veno? He was, is this the time to come? I've taken Atma Sannyasa. I don't want anything now. Then she says, now I'll give you. So we don't know what you're bound with, really. Our binding. And then how did Vidyaranya use it? He used it to build up the Vijayanagara Empire with 2 little boys. He didn't use that money for himself because he had grown out of that. So our bandha is like that. We are binding ourselves to so many things. My relationship, my family, my people, my need, my this thing, my that. My people don't respect me, people don't acknowledge me, people don't give me whatever. All of these things, we have bound ourselves with that. We made ourselves so dependent. And we are not. So then what moksha are we talking about? Let us first acknowledge that I'm bound with all of this. Bound with this, you suffer, you have to suffer. That's it. You can keep asking, whatever will happen, what needs to happen will happen to you. But what is wisdom? What is spiritual understanding? Is that I am bound. Somebody else is not putting me to the chains. Nobody is putting me into a place and tying chains on my hands. This Adnalda relations are also called bandham. Because they bind. Bandhu. Because they bind us in ways that are not for your well-being, for your spiritual well-being. And we bind ourselves in many ways. And we're stuck with this whole world, whole understanding. Our understanding is very, in many ways, it's skewed. Because we struggle between what is morality and what is spiritual freedom. In the name of dharma, in terms of moral, in the name of morality, we try to do, or social engagements, we forget the higher purpose, which is spiritual understanding. We compromise this for that. We compromise spiritual understanding, spiritual depth, spiritual liberation, compromise that for living in the world in a particular way. We end up doing things in the world, compromising this. If we understand that spiritual understanding and spiritual depth is more important, then the way you live in the world will adjust itself. There can be compromises there, but don't compromise on this. Don't compromise on your spiritual journey, on your spiritual path, on what it means for liberation, what liberation means to me, what does bandha mean to me, what does moksha mean to me. Let us not compromise on that, because all you have is this one life. Unless you believe that I am okay to come back again and again and go through the same suffering, that's all right. It's okay too. We can say that, I don't think I am spiritually capable of getting it. I'm okay to come back and again and again. And that's all right. whatever time pass ipo pannittu, then we come back, we'll pick up from chapter 2 of Amritabindu Upanishad, next Janma. We continue from there. Doesn't matter. But you have to figure out what is of most importance to you. See, the only thing is, if we build enough foundation now, at least the subsequent lifetime, it's easy to start from there. What we forget, very importantly, what we forget is the period between two things are not certain, okay? Two things are not certain, which is after you die, how long will it be for the next birth? That is not certain. And the second thing that's not certain is you will be born in a human form. That is also not certain. If you have not used the human form to its best potential, to maximum potential, to try to make the best out of it, then all your tendencies will drive you to a form which is the best suited for those tendencies to be played out. So you have no control.
Really, in the bandham சொல்றீங்க, இந்த பந்தங்கிறது வந்து it relates only to the mind, not to the physical realm. Physical realm, we can be, we will be living with relatives, we'll be living with everybody. But that bond that you say is, it can be physical, but not in the mind.
Correct.
Right?
Difference I am pointing out, absolutely right. I am pointing out the difference between bond and bondage. You can have a bond. I have a lovely bond with my friend. I have a bond with my wife. I have a bond with my child, my parents. I have a bond. But are we making it into a bondage is the problem. Everything they say, everything they do, everything whatever, it bothers me. It impacts me. It disturbs me. Makes me suffer. Bond is beautiful. Bondage is suffering. We don't know to keep that difference. We don't know how to keep that thin line, because at the end of the day, for who? You're working for whom? You're working for your own self, your own inner well-being. If you have to throw yourself out, your energies, your physical, everything, you're going to throw it out and let people trample over it, then it is you who's going to suffer. Unless you say that I am in a place where it doesn't matter to me, right? There are people who live like that completely. From the inner space, they're absolutely unimpacted. On the outside, they give themselves to the world. Use me whichever way you want, because internally I am undisturbed. So bandha, which is why if we see even in English, bandha is bond, is a Sanskrit word. So this, we have to recognize bandha is not necessarily how you're engaging and transacting with the world. It is about what impacts you internally of how the world is operating. Mana eva manushyanam bandha karanam bandha moksha yoho. Bandha and moksha both are my own creation. See, Upanishads don't lie, okay? At something that we have to, our starting premise should be that. If my starting premise is if my starting premise is that, then it's a problem, right? But I have to recognize that the Upanishad is not, because see, we don't even know who the author of this Upanishad is. So he is not here for claim of authorship or claim of va. They have said out of complete understanding of how this mind works. And they're sharing it generously. sharing it. கேட்டுக்கணும்னா கேட்டுக்கோங்கோ, இல்லையா கத்துப்பீங்கோ. You will learn. Not this lifetime, several lifetimes later, you will figure it out. You'll come to this acknowledgement, this understanding, because it's not just one person who said this. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying the same thing, and some random guy in the Amritabindu Upanishad is saying the same thing, and somewhere else in another Upanishad, somebody is saying the same thing. These are different people. It's not they came together for a meeting and agreed upon this, right? It is from their inner well of experience, true understanding, and you can see it very clearly if you can see it. Somebody like a Jiddu Krishnamurti out of the blue, completely not educated on the Indian scriptures, is able to say the same thing. Somebody like an Eckhart Tolle, who did not go through the education of Indian scriptures or any of this, is saying the same thing. How? Because that is the way things are. The moment you notice, moment you learn the way things are, it is not a matter of somebody's, it's not a matter of words from somebody. It is that it's that's the way it is. It's as simple as that. Mind is the cause. Now, whether you want to argue about it for days to come, you can say, how can you say mind? You know, my mind is disturbed because of that person, because of this person. You let it get disturbed. You know, if only my father would have brought me up in a better condition. But you have recognized it now. Can you work through it? My mind is so disturbed, it's gone completely out of this thing. My childhood was so traumatic, this thing, that thing. We can keep narrating. See, your childhood gone. Childhood was traumatic, understood, sympathize, all of that gone. Now, are you in your childhood? No, but there are impressions of that trauma still in my mind. Yes, agreed. What are you doing towards it? Are you repeating the same story again and again and establishing that, yes, I will continue to be depressed? I had a traumatic child, I will continue to be depressed. I had a traumatic relationship with this person, I will continue to carry the impressions. I will poison myself, I'll poison my environment, I'll poison the people around me, and I'll create sympathies around me. Continuously creating sympathies for yourself.
அது வேற இன்னும் அசக்டிவா சொல்லணும்.
ஆமா,
நான் மறக்க மாட்டேன்.
exactly. I will never forget that. Finished. Don't forget. Suffer. Suffer and make others also go through suffering of your presence. See, you suffering is your problem. You're making other people in your presence also suffer. And you will have a justification. நான் கஷ்டப்பட்டேன்ல அவனும் படட்டும். So these are all ways of trying to look at ourselves in honestly, we have to learn to look at ourselves in the mirror with complete honesty. With complete honesty, look at ourselves in the mirror to say that, am I the cause of all of the suffering in my life? And not try to justify that, no, I am not the cause, and find some other cause. No, find out how is it that you're the cause. And not to stop that whole story with blaming. Yeah, people, depression, mind goes like that. Yeah, you know what, I am like this only, what to do, I can't. If there is this willingness that yes, I am the cause and I have to get over it, then we will find ways to solve that problem. And what does temples, prayers, dhyana, all of this mantra chanting, what do they give you? They give you enough energy so that you can take up the challenge of working with your mind. Because a lot of times when you're exhausted, see, think about when you're so exhausted and drained, and somebody will say, okay, now let's think about Atman, Brahman, Satchidananda. You're so exhausted, you went up. right? I play some song, I'll sleep off nicely. You're exhausted. There's no energy to hold these subtle thoughts, subtle analysis. To hold it, you need energy. And look at all this we do as something that gives you energy. Going to a temple, you're going into an energy space, gives you energy. You're doing some kind of mantra chanting, gives you energy. When you get this energy, use that time, use that energy to do this kind of introspection. At that time, look at yourself and analyze. Not when you're at the lowest. When you're at the lowest, try to do something to come up. That's all. Don't do analysis at that time. Don't do psychological analysis. Do not read Upanishads when you're depressed. This much I will tell. Reading Upanishads when one is depressed is the worst thing to do. Because you will lose interest in the Upanishad. You can't resonate with it. You have to do things to up your energy when you're depressed. And when your energy is up, then you read the Upanishad and do the analysis and then establish those truths so that you don't get depressed. This way of thinking is essentially a preemptive way of thinking so that the mind doesn't go into that. And you train it enough, then when the mind slowly goes into, then you again hold it with this. Slowly going into, hold it with this. When somebody is completely inside it, it's very hard to get them out. If we talk about these things, they will say, they'll agree with you. But it is not coming out of understanding. It is coming out of a state of depression. It is coming out of a state of rejection and resignation. Right? Such a person who's going like that, mind is like that and all, you pull all the plugs from them. Okay, ஒதுமே வேண்டாம், சரி உங்க கார் நான் எடுத்துட்டு போறேன் அப்படின்னா ஐயோ, அப்ப வீட்டு பத்திரத்தை கொடுங்க கொண்டு. Can you please sign all your property to me? அப்போ இருக்கிறது இதுதான், இதையும் எடுத்துட்டு போயிட்டு போறியா அப்படின்னு. When the mind is depressed, it is not looking for spiritual solutions. It is only looking for sympathy. Ayyo pavam. Because all that you're talking about when you're depressed, if somebody is wanting to actually come and acknowledge that and act upon it, you won't be ready for it. So, mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksha yoho. The mind alone is the cause for bandha and moksha. It is the cause to say that, yes, I am bound or I am free. There'll actually be another verse that will come later to say that, verse 10, I think, where the wise ones don't even seek. After a certain point, they don't even seek. Because they are not bound, they don't look for moksha also. So that is the view of that Vedantin we spoke about. He'll say, where is the mind? There is no mind only. You guys are playing with an illusory thing. Right? Dream lupoi, how much ever you do, whatever you do, when you wake up, you know that it's all a play in the dream only. You're not going to go and hold something, somebody, some event, some situation. Nothing. You're not going to hold any of that as true. In the same way, when a wise man wakes up, he looks at it, he will say, all this control of the mind and all that is a joke. Because there is no mind. Because you're acknowledging that there is a mind and you're giving it so much energy, then you're trying to do something. Oh my God, what do I do with my mind? I don't know how to manage it. I don't know how. So going back to what we started, we're saying that do not try to control the mind because it is a futile effort. You have to manage it. Manage means first observe it. How do you manage anything? First, you have to understand it. Understand it, look at it. Is it easy to understand the mind in its entirety? We can't. But at least through the expressions of how it plays out in you, try to observe it. Look at situations saying, am I the one causing the Am I the one causing? And then you look at it and then you say, okay, now how do I work through this? Sometimes you have to work it out. See, for transaction purposes, you may have to do certain things. You do, right? But you carry it and make it a big story, and then that we don't want to do. So transaction, you dealt with it. But when you're looking at the mind, look at it very closely to see, is it my action right now? Is it driven by my continuous restlessness, agitation, anxiety, desires? Or is it, suppose all these anxiety, whatever mind, the play of the mind is there, you sit calmly, quietly. Release all of that through your breath, outgoing breath, you release it. And then you think, you say, okay, let the right thing occur as a thought to me now. Let whatever I have to do next occur as the right thing, as a thought to me. And then when it occurs, work on it without analyzing it. This is how you build intuitive understanding. And intuitive action is built by trusting. When your mind is calm, after a morning puja or a meditation, your mind is calm, and the first thought that comes, don't analyze it, work with it. And when you practice this, you will see at some point that when you listen to that first thought, without any judgment, you take it and work on it, you will notice slowly that your ability to be intuitively sensitive increases. What we do is, even we get these intuitive thoughts, but we analyze it. Mind on the அது கரெக்ட்டா அப்படி இருக்க முடியுமா? நான் அப்படியே போட்டு மைண்ட் வந்து இட் வில் கன்ஃப்யூஸ் யூ அண்ட் தென் you're back to your normal self. So how do you get liberation? Through your daily actions. This is the way. Every day close your eyes and think that for a few moments, I am not bound to anything. Right now I am free. All of these differences, disappointments, anxieties I'm carrying are all created in the mind. And when I consciously drop it all, whether you're living, you're dying, world is going to go on. Oh, as a father, I have to do this. As a grandfather, I have to do this. As a grandmother, all of those things, for a little while, keep it aside. Because the moment God pulls the plug out of you, suddenly God decides, okay, but too much drama panta. And plug the world is going to continue. They'll cry for a little while, and after that, we don't want to acknowledge that as a reality. This is what Yudhishthira says, right, to the Yaksha. The greatest wonder is man sees death all around but doesn't believe he is going to die. We tell ourselves that truth because when we become so caught up in the things that we are doing, the role that we play, the things that we have to do in the world, we get so caught up that we don't think that what if my plug is pulled right now? Am I ready to go? If I am not, then I will loiter around as a preta atma here. And that is not good for anybody. Always prepare yourself to plug pulled. Visualize, meditate. Every day we should meditate for a little while to see, okay, right now plug pulled. Tap. Am I ready to go? Very important. And at that time, when the mind is calm and you get to a place where you're calm, and then whatever thought arises is your intuition. And then we work with it. Right? So the verse says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam. Vishaya asaktam. The asakti that we carry. விட முடியல, நான் இல்லைன்னா எப்படி நடக்கும் அப்படிங்கிறது என்னமோ நம்மளே we tell these things to ourselves repeatedly. Asakti is so much on Vishaya. Vishaya means the world, people, situation, things, possessions, objects, desires, that asakti that is there, the holding on to it. That is bandha. Bandhaya vishayasaktam. Muktyai nirvishayam smritam. Remind yourself repeatedly, smritam, that to be liberated right now, you have a choice. It's not about tomorrow, okay? It's not about, okay, satsang mudinjachi tomorrow, maybe, it's a great idea, Guruji told. Tomorrow I will start it. Okay, from tomorrow, I am going to be free. It is not something in the future. Right now, look at it. Can you drop it right now? Because freedom is not something to be attained. Understand? I know we are at the top of the hour. Freedom is not to be attained. Freedom is present right now. You are only bound. It is like that. Give this one small anecdote and we'll close. There's this very interesting, there's a story about a donkey and a washerman and his donkey. So the washerman, every day he goes to the nadi, carries all the clothes on the back of the donkey and ties the donkey to a pole. And then takes his clothes, washes it, and then takes it back, and then unties the donkey from the pole, puts the clothes on his back, and then goes. Every day. One day he suddenly forgets a rope, the rope that he has to tie the donkey to the pole. He forgets that rope. And he comes there and he's waiting at the riverside and doesn't know what to do. Because if he's going to let the donkey, while he's washing, the donkey will run away. He's a poor man. He can't afford another donkey. He's wondering what to do. Fortunately for him, a Swamiji, a learned man, walks by around. He's walking by. And quickly he tells, along with the donkey, he runs with him and says, Swamiji, Swamiji. Saying, what is it? Says, the situation like this, I don't know what to do. So then Swamiji brings him and takes him to the pole where he ties the donkey. And he tells, do one thing. Take the clothes off the donkey and act as though you're tying the donkey to the pole. And you go and do your work. And then the washerman asks, will that work? He said, try it. And then he does that. He acts as though he is tying it. And then he goes and he does his washing. The donkey is there only. It doesn't move. He's very happy. Oh, great idea. And then evening, he puts the clothes on the donkey's back. And then he's getting the donkey to move. It's not moving. What's happening? And then again, maybe that sannyasi comes morning and evening to do Sandhya Vandanam there. So he, sannyasis don't do Sandhya Vandanam, but he's somebody who comes there, a wise man. So he again looks at the wise man and says, now my donkey is not moving. He says, did you untie him? He said, what do you mean untie him? There was no rope, no, in the first place. He said, that is for you and me. We know there is no rope. But the donkey thinks because you acted that you're tying, it thinks it is tied. Now, can you act as though you're untying? And then he did the act and then the donkey moved. So this is our condition. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. This is the donkey that we have tied this donkey, saying that, oh, you're bound, you're bound, you're bound. So with Guru's help, with acharyas, with gurus, gods, scriptures, satsangas, we try to untie this. We tell the mind that you are real, but donkey, you are not tied really. You are free. I am untying you. Because it's so deep rooted. The mind doesn't move. The mind thinks it's bound. Mind thinks it's bound. It doesn't think, it believes so strongly that it is bound. Move it. Tell them you are not bound. You're thinking, your emotions, you think that you're all holding on to these things. Life on the planet was 4 billion years old. So many people, so many creatures have come and gone. Why are you suffering? So That is this beautiful verse. Bandhaya mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam muktye nirvishayam saktam. Om kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmai narayanaayeti samarpayami sadashivayeti samarpayami jagadambiketi samarpayami sadgurunathayeti samarpayami. Hari Om Tat Sat Gurubhyo Namaha. Gurudeva. Happy Ashada Ekadashi. Thank you, Mama, for that beautiful photo.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om Guruji.
Thank you, Ma. Hari Om.